Hello, today I have a review for you for the FiiO Q5 and the Q5s. Start with the box and accessories and the FiiO AM5 amp module. There's the box. Metal case. Warranty card. They give you these high-res audio stickers with some extra T5 screws. And then they give you an assortment of stickers. And then they give you the amp module. You have 3.5mm headphone out and micro USB in. And screw goes there, screw goes there. A rubber dust cover. And then there's your PCB. Okay. FiiO Q5 accessories are mostly the same for the Q5s. So here's the box. And inside of that box you get this box. And then the unit will be sitting on top of this cardboard. But I already took it out. And I already took all the accessories out. And on top of that cardboard you get this foam insert. And then the Q5 will be inside of this plastic bag. So let's go over the accessories. You get a T5 screwdriver, metal, hard rubber, this spins. A paper for the driver free mode. User manual, you can just look this up online. They also give you another warranty card. I don't know what that paper is. And then a little thingy, and then on the back there's Chinese. So this tells you USB in is white for the LED, blue is Bluetooth, blue-red is Bluetooth pairing, purple is optical in, yellow is coaxial in, and green is line in. Hold the play pause button for 2 seconds to enter Bluetooth mode, 5 seconds to force the pairing, and hit next track to change the inputs from optical, coaxial, and line in. And the previous track is just previous track for Bluetooth. So you get a silicone pad and some extra T5 screws. I am missing the rubber bands, by the way. So they give you 2 sets of rubber bands, a smaller set of rubber bands, and a medium set. Now they also give you this USB-A to micro USB cable. It's about 3 feet long. And I believe you might have to use this cable to have the unit work. If you hook your computer up to this cable, you have to use this cable, I believe, to play audio and to charge it at the same time. Because I was using the monoprice cable and it doesn't charge while using the monoprice cable at the same time. So you need like a special cable. Anyways, you got a lightning to micro USB adapter cable, 3.5mm to 3.5mm adapter cable, and a 3.5mm to coaxial 3.5mm female adapter cable. And then down here is your optical to mini optical adapter. And this mini optical is 3.5mm. And then they give you a carry pouch. And that's about it for the accessories. So let's go over the units. Alright, so we have the Q5s on this side, and we have the Q5 on this side. Okay, so let's start on this side. So we'll start with the headphone outputs. So we have a 2.5mm headphone out, and then a 3.5mm headphone out, and a micro USB in. Here we also get a micro USB in, and then a 3.5mm headphone out, a 2.5mm headphone out. But then on the Q5s, they also give you a 44, whatever, millimeter balanced headphone out. Okay, on the left, so start on this side, we have our 3.5 millimeter line out, and then next to that we have our 3.5 millimeter line in, and then that 3.5 millimeter right here can also be your optical in, your coaxial in, or just a regular, 3.5 millimeter in. So that little optical adapter that they give you will go right in there, by the way. And then we have metal switches for our bass boost and our high-low gain. Okay, and then on this side we have a sticker that can be peeled off, and then you got 3 buttons, and the 3 buttons on both of them are the same. It's just this uses black text and it has white text. So you got your previous, play, pause, and then your next track. And then we have our reset button here, so you need to use like a paper clip or like a pencil or something to stick it in there if you want to hit the reset button. That's only if the unit gets locked up. And then this one does, the Q5 has a extra micro USB, and this is for charging only, and then this one's for playing audio. Well, this one just has this one, which could charge and play from the same one. Remember, you have to use that cable if you want to play audio and charge at the same time. Now, if you load up the Bluetooth, you can swap those USBs. So if you want this one to charge and want this one to play audio, you can do that. And then also in the Bluetooth app, for the FiiO app, you can change the filters. The filters don't really make much of a difference. Like the super roll-off filter, there is going to be a difference with that one, so I don't really recommend that. I have this in the fast roll-off filter, and then this one is I don't know because the Bluetooth doesn't work. Now with the super roll-off filter, I don't use it, but if you were at 5,000 hertz, it's going to be like 2 or 3 dB like shelved under. And once you hit like 10,000, it starts to roll off after that. So there is going to be a sound difference, so just don't use that one. And that's about it, other than the T5 screws here for the amp module. Alright. So this is where it gets a little different. So over here we have a power on LED, or LED, you hold that for 2 seconds. Powers the unit on, and then you have to hold it again for 2 seconds. Turn it off. And for this one, you have to use the volume scroll to turn it on. So you see it clicks off and clicks on as you turn the volume. And then you can go all the way over here and do that. And see this LED lights up. Now, when you plug this into a computer, it'll tell you what input you're on. And then you can also hit this button to change the inputs. And then when you're playing music, so when you have it hooked up and you're playing music, all these lights will light up, and that will indicate your battery life. So if you're at full charge, then all the lights will be on. If you're at half charge, then only 2 of the lights will be on. If you're like a quarter charge, only 1 of the lights on, and if it's dead, then the lights will go off. And then we have our power button here, and then this is a DSD light indicator. Well, the Q5s doesn't have a DSD light indicator, I don't think, or unless it's that little light that's right there. I don't use DSD, so I don't know. And that's about it. Oh, and on the back you got this leather. So this is raised up, this is not. So if you lay this down, this won't get scratched because there's like a little hump here. So you can lay this on your desk and it won't slide. Same thing with this one. And then on the fronts, they basically look the same. The only difference is the Q5 has a sticker, and the Q5s, which is now on this side, the Q5s doesn't have a sticker, so this is embedded into the metal. And this is all metal, by the way. So very good build quality, and very good accessories that it comes with. So let's go ahead and talk about the sound. Now the FiiO AM5 is only single-ended. Now the sound of this is a lot more similar to the sound out of the Q5s, but it's only single-ended. But I say similar and not the same, but close enough. And then the Q5 and the Q5s with the stock amp modules, there's a little bit of a difference, but honestly they're mostly the same. But we're going to make some comparisons to some other amplifiers. But we'll start off with just Q5 versus Q5s. We'll start off with the bass boost. Oh, and I also want to point out, the volumes are about the same on these. So let's say if I'm using like the Sennheiser 560S, I'll be using at like 40% volume on both. Even though the Q5S has a little more power. So it's a little more powerful. But back to the sound, start off with the bass boost. Now, if you watched my video about a year ago, I did a ranking on these. Excuse me. And that kind of gives you like a general idea how I'd rank them. Now, there's a few changes since then because I did do some direct comparisons with like the iFi Can and whatnot. But in terms of the bass boost, my opinion has been pretty much unchanged. So I would recommend, if you want a bass boost, I would recommend the iFi Can because it sounds a lot better. And to get a little more specific, for one, the sub bass on these, both of these by the way, isn't going to be as good as the iFi Can. Now the iFi Can, when you don't have the bass boost on, it's going to be still better, by the way. But we're just going to be talking about with it on. So with the bass boost on, the iFi Can is going to have a slope kind of like this. So it's going to be mostly sub bass focused. So let's say like 6 dB there. And then mid bass is going to be like 2 or 3 dB. And then upper bass is going to be maybe like 1 dB. And then no bleed into the the lower mid range. While on the FiiO Q5s, it's going to be more like 6 dB all the way down to the sub bass, and then that's going to bleed into the lower mid range. So the bass on these are going to be a little bit more mid bass focused and upper bass focused, and then on the older Q5, it's going to be a bit more bloated and a little bit more. Sorry, my back's hurting. It's a little more bloated and it's a little bit more muddy sounding. The newer Q5s is a little cleaner in the mid bass and the upper bass, but it's only a tiny bit better. While the iFi Can, I personally like the bass boost on that a lot better. Because one, the detail is better, and then the sub bass extension is better, and then also the slope is a lot better as well. So let's say you have something like a Sennheiser 6XX, where it has a sub bass roll off, where it looks like this. So when you use the iFi Can, you're kind of correcting that. So you're balancing it out. So you take a headphone sloped like this and then you balance it out. Well, with these can be a little bit overdone in the mid bass and the upper bass depending on what headphone you're using. Alright, so that's the bass boost. Let's move on to the mid range. The mid range, the detail and vocal quality and all that mumbo jumbo is about the same on both of these and the AM5. Now there's some slight differences. The Q5, the older Q5, which is on this side, the mid-range is particularly vocals, so like sibilants and everything like that, details mostly the same, but like the actual presentation is a little bit different. So on the Q5 it's a little more recessed, a little more hollow, and then on the newer Q5s it sounds a little more normal or natural. And on the FiiO AM5 amp module it's a lot more similar to this. And then we get into the treble. By the way, the FiiO AM5 amp module, it has about the same power as the Q5s, but back to the bass. The bass boost on that is the best of the three, the AM5 module. So it's stronger without the bass boost on. And when you turn the bass boost on, it actually has a pretty good solid, because when you plug in the amp module, you can still go over here and turn the bass boost on. So the AM5 is going to be stronger and it's going to be better controlled compared to both of these. It's a little more similar to the Q5s, but it's just a tiny bit better. So back to the treble. That's where these two units kind of differ just a tiny bit. and I mean really tiny differences. The treble on the Q5 is it's a little, there's more sparkle. It's a little sharper, a little more present on the Q5s and the AM5. The AM5 and this one is kind of the same. I think that might be partially due to the fact that both of these units have a different DAC in them. So this sounds a little bit more detailed. The Q5s, it's a little more clearer sounding. It's a little less warm. The timbre is mostly the same. The warmth is mostly the same, but this one sounds a little bit clearer and just a little more detailed. But like instrument separation is mostly the same on the two. Soundstage, or say imaging. Imaging is mostly the same. Instrument separation is the same. Layering is the same. Soundstage is a little different. I would say this one sounds a little more narrow, particularly the AM5. The AM5 definitely sounds the most narrow. Well, these two are kind of like the same. Like if you're using single-ended versus single-ended, it's kind of the same. Balance versus balance, kind of the same. I would say I'll take the edge to the Q5. It's a little bit better on the Q5, but overall the sound stage is mostly the same. And then what else? Timbre is mostly the same. The AM5's timbre is a little more similar to the Q5S. This one's just a tiny bit different, and that's just because the mids and the trebles sound a little, I don't want to say wonky, but it's just it's a little off. This sounds more like a THX portable, the Q5S, in terms of how it does treble. So if you don't like that like sharp, crystal clear treble at mid-range, you might prefer the Q5 a little bit more. That's about it. Did I forget anything? I don't think so. So let's go ahead and do the comparison with the iFi XCan. So the iFi XCan, the sub bass is better. There's better extension. So when I'm trying to look for like rumble in a song or a movie or something like that, the iFi XCan is going to be better. And when it comes to the mid-range, the iFi XCan's mid-range is going to be more detailed, and it's going to be a little more intimate as well. That's one of the things I didn't like about the Q5 is it's a little recessed and a little hollow. Well, on the Q5S they kind of fixed that. Well, on the iFi XCan, the vocals are just a little bit forward. Same thing with the Chord Mojo. The vocals are going to be a little bit forward. Now I find that the iFi XCan has a little bit more detail in the vocals compared to these two. And then also in terms of timbre, these are going to be a little more analytical. And then the iFi XCan is a little more on like the neutral side. The only thing I could say really negative about the iFi XCan is that it's lacking a little bit of warmth. So these provide you, they're analytical, but they are able to give you some warmth. Well, the iFi XCan you might find a little sterile, but not in like the uncolored, like analytical way, more in like just like the neutral, non-analytical way, if you know what I mean. And when it comes to the treble, I do think these probably, particularly the Q5S, offers better treble than the iFi XCan in my opinion. And overall though, I would actually rank the iFi XCan over these two units in terms of sound quality, but it's only very minor differences. You're going to notice a much bigger difference if you get like if you upgrade your headphone, for example. So just keep that in mind. And then in comparison to the Chord Mojo is definitely warmer, more intimate. Soundstage is more narrow. It's also a much smoother sounding amp as well. Vocals are also more intimate on the Chord Mojo. And detail I wouldn't necessarily is better though on the Chord Mojo. I would say the iFi XCan offers a little bit more detail into the vocals and like the sub bass range. Chord Mojo, I didn't really test the sub bass, but overall it's not bad. And overall the treble is also not bad on the Chord Mojo. But otherwise, that's basically my review. So thank you for watching.